Hello everybody, my name is Lady Pelvic with Pelvic Gaming, and I'm here today with Trevor Lowe of Lowbro Studios, the creator of Indie Pogo! And before I begin, I want to say a huge thank you to Florida Interactive Entertainment Academy for hosting us. So for those who don't know, what is Indie Pogo?
Indie Pogo is a game that's currently in development. It's a 2D platform brawler, somewhat Smash-like. And it's an indie crossover, which means we're contacting a lot of different indie studios and asking to use their characters and worlds in our game. So, I mean, we've got a couple here. That's not all of them, but, you know.
Yeah, no, I see you guys building quite the roster. Like, we got a question on that. So,
okay, cool.
And is it still in development, or?
It is still in development. We're hoping to release by the end of the year.
How did you convince other companies and creators to work with you on Indie Pogo and letting you use their characters?
Well, it's a process. That process changes from studio to studio. Basically, what it usually consists of is I'll make fan art of these individual characters, and I'll post them on social media like Twitter, and then I will send it to them, you know, just tag them in the tweet, and from there just kind of starts a conversation. Usually they like it. It gives them a chance to see what their character will look like in our art style, and conversation just kind of rolls on from there. You
work with your brother, Jaren, at Lowbro Studios. Mm-hmm. What's it like working with family?
Well, he's my brother, so we fight often and loudly. Yeah, we love each other, don't worry. He's a programmer, I'm an artist and designer, and we get along as well as we can. But anyway, so we're actually not working on Indie Pogo together right now, in the sense that he's working on the code and I'm working on the art. I've got a programmer named Chris who's fantastic at what he does. Mm-hmm. He lives in Wisconsin. We Skype, you know, every couple of days, just, you know, trying to knock out that to-do list. And then Jaren's role right now is a QA tester, and he essentially helps us keep the game consistent and, you know, make sure it's good enough quality for when we do eventually release.
Okay, so that just begs the question. Mm-hmm. Who's better at gaming, you or Jaren?
Oh, definitely Jaren. He's the world's greatest Indie Pogo player right now.
For now.
For now.
What helped you decide to work in video games, and what was the first step?
So I don't know that there was necessarily a decision point in the sense that I woke up one day and decided, hey, I'm going to be a video game developer. I've always enjoyed games. You know, my parents got me a Super Nintendo. Donkey Kong Country was my first game.
Really?
Growing up, yeah. And so when I was a kid, my parents always tried to have me play sports, and I was out, you know, in the fields, dreaming that I was in a video game world. So it's something that I always wanted to do. There wasn't necessarily a career path when I was a kid. When I was looking into colleges, I found the Florida Interactive Entertainment Academy, and yeah, you know, I applied, got in, and it was a fantastic grad program, and here we are actually in their building. You know, they're kind enough to let us have a space here to do this little talk.
How has the process of creating video games changed since you started?
Well, obviously the technology has changed. You know, when we first started, we were actually making iPhone games. Basically, you know, going through grad school and through my time in the big industry, I've learned a couple practices that have really helped us develop this game. So we're going to get into game design here for a second.
All right, brace yourself, guys.
Get ready
Strap
for it.
in.
Yeah, all right, so we've got something called the onion, which basically you're going to build the game in very small layers, right? So for us, because it's Indie Pogo, it's a game about auto jumping. The very first thing that we did in that prototype is we're just going to have a character jumping up and down and make sure it feels good. You know, that's the jump height, that's movement, that's the squishing of the character. So the next layer is going to be, well, what happens if we add in another character? How does it feel, the collision of jumping on their head? You know, particles, is their hit stun, knockback when you hit them. Next layer would be, let's start adding in attacks. You know, let's start adding in health stats. Let's start adding in stage hazards and platforms and jump through platforms, cool. You know. So the idea is that you don't start developing the stage before you know exactly how the characters are going to feel. You know, the idea is that the onion, you don't want to jump ahead. You want to make sure that the core feels good and you build naturally out from there. So
far, what are you most proud of in Indie Pogo? Whether it be yourself or the game?
So
many things, I know.
No, I think a big thing for me is definitely our ability to bring so many characters together. You know, think about Smash Bros. Yeah, it's a pretty big crossover, right? Mm-hmm, for us, all these different characters come from completely different studios. Like, this is going to be a huge crossover. Right now we're at 45 studios that we're collaborating with. That's character stages, other appearances, you know. And that number's continuing to grow.
And they're not all in the States either.
No. I think the last time I counted was like 10 different countries, and every time we recruit someone new, that number goes up. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
for an indie developer, like you getting out
I'm
there.
I'm trying.
I like it. Flex it. For the longest time, video game companies emphasized better graphics being the key to better games. What makes a good video game these days?
Gameplay. Always gameplay.
100%?
99%. Yeah,
Okay,
so something that we actually learned here was graphics are great, don't get me wrong. I love games with good graphics. The idea is that graphics should sell the game. What keeps someone playing the game is going to be gameplay. You can play a beautiful game that plays like crap. Can I say shit? I can say shit. We're cussing.
Oh, yeah.
You can play a beautiful game that plays like shit, and you're gonna throw it away after a day. You know, no one's got time for that.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody. Look at you. I like you, Trevor. You're so sassy.
I try.
Sassy game developer. So no, but I do agree. That's definitely something that keeps the players engaged.
Yeah.
Like a pretty game is a pretty game, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to break it down, there are definitely a lot of things as far as like, you know, is a game social? Does it have a component that makes people want to share? Does it have a hook? Those things are important, but at the end of the day, is the game fun? That's the most important question we need to ask ourselves as game developers.
I agree. No, Indie Pogo is fun, so you get the pelvic seal of approval on that one. All right, this is where we get real.
Oh, shit.
I like this one. All right. So how do you feel about Steam Greenlight as a platform for indie developers?
I am thankful that Steam is taking a look at the Greenlight system and trying to clean that up a bit. You know, I'm a big fan of Jim Sterling, and he's doing a lot of great work trying to show the downsides of Steam Greenlight. I think Steam is a good place for indie developers to sell their games. I think anyone with a computer can put something on Steam, and that's not good for everyone. It's just flooding the market, and that's not good for talented indie developers.
Like yourself.
I wasn't going to say
like
that.
Yourself,
I'm just saying.
I'm tooting the horn for you.
I'm just saying.
What are some of your favorite video games?
Oh, man. So, Super Mario RPG and Skies of Arcadia are the first two that come to mind. Okay.
You can't see it. Our cameraman's behind like Skies. Oh yeah, Skies.
Yeah, Skies of Arcadia.
I haven't played it yet.
Well, get on it.
I know.
I'm a big fan of a lot of different genres, though. I mean, huge fan of the Ace Attorney series.
Me too. High five.
That's right.
No objections there.
Objection!
Overruled.
Yeah, League of Legends, I have an unhealthy addiction to League of Legends, which is actually one of my inspirations. One of my inspirations for the game, which we'll get into later, I'm sure.
Who are some of your favorite characters in Indie Pogo?
Gonna be in trouble here. So, something to keep in mind is they wouldn't be a playable character if I didn't love the character and or the game. So, something to keep in mind, I love them all, right? So, such a proud papa. No, but as far as characters that have some sort of meaningful milestone behind them through development, Zorby, he's the green dude right here. He was the first character where his moveset kind of helped inspire what the overall game was going to feel like, in the sense that we have something called communicative design, where his axe, all of his moves interact with his axe. And so he was the first example that we had where it's like, oh, well, even though characters only have 4 moves, why don't we have all of their moves interact with each other? So it kind of makes the game easy to learn and hard to master. There's a lot of depth to these characters, even though, you know, you've only got 4 different moves that you can do.
Gotcha. No. But your movesets that you have that I've played, like I'm partial to Jack. I love Jack.
He's a crowd favorite.
I bet because he's so fun and he's adorable. He's just cute. He's just so cute. Skeletons and stuff.
He's got that spike ball.
He do.
Spike ball OP.
So before we end this, we have some questions from Twitter.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Are you ready?
Okay.
Hi, followers. And new followers.
Yes. All right, so first question from Amin. I'm sorry if I butcher your names. I'm really bad at this, so just forgive me. What games give you inspiration when you're making a new game?
I'm definitely not working on any new games anytime soon. When it came to developing Indie Pogo, a lot of the inspirations that we looked at, you know, a lot of people think Super Smash Brothers, right? And that actually wasn't the first inspiration. It was a small iOS game called Slambots. I highly recommend it. It's on, I think it's on Android as well. It's an auto jumping game that was super cool. Me and my brother were playing it, and we just kind of decided, well, what would happen if this was multiplayer, you know?
Yeah. And
then it kind of evolved from there. Well, what happened if we added attacks? What happens if we added, you know, knockouts? And it became more Smash-like as it went. Some other inspirations: Legend of the Mystical Ninja. On the Super Nintendo, yeah, it's kind of got the same comical, cartoony art style, which is what I was going for. League of Legends is actually a really big inspiration. I brought it up earlier, I know.
How is that an inspiration? I need to know how.
It's because League of Legends has 4 moves, just like we do. You know, we've got the up, neutral, down, and grounded charge, right? And so it was really inspirational to me that even though they only have 4 abilities that they can do, there's a lot of gameplay depth in the sense that you can use moves in conjunction with each other, you know, different orders, and so that was really inspiring as far as like how do we add depth to what Indie Pogo currently was.
Okay, all right. Now we have Lumazura. Hope I said that right. I know it must not be easy being an indie developer. You guys supposedly work like 24/7. My question is, how do you keep on keeping on?
I love what I do, and I love Indie Pogo, which I would hope so. I'm working on it, you know.
I hope so too.
Well, it's important because, you know, I've worked in the industry, and I've had to work on games that I didn't love, and that's why I ended up leaving to go indie. So it's just a matter of having a passion for it, and discipline, I guess would be the better word, is, you know.
Self-discipline.
I have to fight the urge to get on League of Legends and play that when I've got spare time. It's no, get in there and make some art.
The struggle.
I know.
Same. How long has this game been in development?
2.5 years, but it's part-time because we've had full-time and part-time jobs on the side. So I would say total time that we've worked on it, maybe about a year. Probably about a year.
All right, so next question we have from Robo Master, okay?
Yeah.
This is a big one, all right?
Yeah.
Get ready? Deep breath, deep breath. Why did the chicken cross the road? Kai be doing? How you be doing?
How you doing?
How you be doing?
How you be doing?
Love it. Love the name. All right, Kai be doing. Any chance of adding mod support down the road?
Maybe?
Daniel Martinez. Is it intimidating being an indie game developer when there are so many others making indie games too? What's done in order to stand out from the rest?
It's definitely intimidating in the sense that there are a lot of people out there making some really cool stuff. You know, a lot of variety, a lot of cool products, and only so many eyes to put on them, so many dollars to buy them. As far as what we are doing to stand out, I mean, beyond anything else, it's just make a cool game. I think the indie crossover, you know, compared to Smash Bros, right? Most of those characters are all from one company. It's Nintendo, and obviously there are some guest characters, you know, from Square, Capcom, you know, so on and so forth. Majority of our characters are all from different studios. You know, as I think I said before, 45 studios from 10 or so countries right now is where we're at.
Mind blowing.
And so I think that's, you know, it's something that I think a lot of people are going to be excited about when the game comes out.
Ty, thank you for the easy name. I appreciate that. Will Indie Pogo have multiple game modes?
Yes.
Indeed. Patricio Salinas. He asks, how did they get the idea of the game?
All right, so let's wind the clock back 3 years. I was living in San Francisco, California at the time. I had just left Zynga, meaning I was essentially unemployed. I was going through a breakup with my now ex-fiance. I was in a pretty dark place. You know, there was Gamergate going on around that time. You know, 2013.
Funny year.
You know, there was a lot of hate towards game developers at the time. You know, Phil Fish was going through his harassment that he had faced online, which wasn't fun, and so it kind of came to a point where I came to a crossroads where I was like, I don't know that I really want to work in game design anymore. You know, that was my passion, but it kind of all fell apart in my job and just, you know, on social media, whatever. And it just came to a point where it's like, well, if I'm not happy with the way the world is treating game design, you know, I want to be a positive influence in it. You know, I want to be the change that I want to see. I want to make a game that makes people happy, hence why the art style is so happy.
Super happy.
Yeah, and I want to make a game that unites people instead of separates people, in the sense that, you know, even now today, you know, we've got a lot of political stuff and a lot of stuff tearing people apart. I wanted to make a game that brought people together. That's why we have so many indie studios collaborating. That's why we have so many people from so many different countries around the world all uniting just to work on one thing that we hope is going to be really cool. You know, so I wanted to be the positive change that I wanted to see in the world.
Well, I'm really glad you kept at it because, like I said, this game is so much fun to play, and if that discouraged you, then we wouldn't be here today, and
we would not be interviewing. That's right.
I know, so sad times, but I'm glad. I'm glad you see the light, happiness.
I do, and I'm a happy person. It was just
that moment.
It was kind of that's how I coped with going through some hard times, essentially.
Monkey Man. Monkey Man. Monkey Man. How big do you think the roster will be by the time you're done with development? I'm so hyped to play this game when it's finally done. Smiley face.
Yeah, well, first release, we're aiming for around 15-ish characters, but we are absolutely going to continue supporting the game once it's launched. You know, I don't know if we're going to do character packs or one at a time or an expansion pack. I'm hoping anywhere between 30 to 50 playable characters.
And then that brings us to our final question.
Yeah.
From Words Like Violence. Any chance of Edmund McMillan characters appearing?
Super Meat Boy and Isaac from the Binding of Isaac are definitely both on that list I mentioned earlier. It comes down to whether or not his approval, you know?
All right, Edmund, if you're watching, call him. Thank you once again so much for coming out and talking about this wonderful game. And I'm happy to spread awareness about this wonderful game. And I also want to thank Florida Interactive Entertainment Academy for hosting this wonderful interview and creating the wonderful indie game developer that is Trevor Lowe of Lowbro Studios.
Seriously, Faya, I do owe you guys so much, so thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. And then where can we find you?
Right, so Twitter's probably the best place to get in contact with us. That's going to be at Lowbros, you know, on Twitter. And then our Facebook is facebook.com/LowBroStudios. You can also go to indiepogo.com. There's no space or anything. And that's going to have all of our links at the bottom. You know, it's got our Steam, it's got YouTube, you know.
The whole 9 yards. Sweet. All right. Well, definitely look these guys up. Keep up to date. They're just announcing new characters left and right. So just,
Be on the lookout for more announcements.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Trevor.
you. I had a
You're
great
amazing.
time. Yeah, come here, you.
Oh, friendship.